Hello, hope everybody's doing great today. My name is Chris Choice. In today's presentation, I'm going to be explaining the Easy Choice Development Plan. A little bit about me, a little background information. My name is Chris Choice. I am a high school defensive coordinator at All Saints in Tyler, Texas. Small business consultant for local businesses and churches in the area. And I also have been a 10-year franchise owner of my own small business called Complete Weddings and Events. I recently retired from that 2 years ago, and now I am in the teaching field and educational field. I'm a graduate at Northeastern University, proud master's degree in sports leadership. Also a graduate of the University of North Texas in organizational leadership. I have a certificate from Collin County Community College in audio engineering and video production. And lastly, my associates in general studies is from my local home of Tyler Junior College. All right, so we'll talk about the vision and the mission for my project. It's just started off from me going around talking to some local business owners, education leaders, community service representatives, and nonprofit organizations. So I've always been a community leader, and I've always looked at how can I make my society better? How can we make the life around us better? So I went and just started asking some of these leaders the same question. How can we make this society better? And how can we make this better? And a big word that came to a lot of them was the word legacy. How can we create a legacy for our children? How can we make a better life for our children? And when you think about your children, I'm a father. I have a 5-year-old and a 14-year-old. When I think about my two boys, I think, okay, so I'm 34 right now. And my 5-year-old will be, in about 30 years, he'll be in the same position I am. And how can I create a future for him that will be more resourceful and have more tangible resources than I have today? So thinking of that, if I'm living in the same city, if I'm living in the same place, living in the same area, I want to create the environment that we live in a little bit better. And that takes leaders with a different heart and a different mind and a different vision. And here's some of the things that leaders pointed out. They want to improve underdeveloped areas in low-income districts, bring quality jobs to our community. That means jobs that people want to actually work at, not jobs that people just do. Something that people have passion for. So we want to bring mass jobs to that area. We want to increase property value, decrease poverty, and kind of kill the culture of poverty in impoverished areas. Some of the education leaders said they want to have higher standards for education. We want to balance the wealth distribution among our youth especially. So some of our younger generation, like in their 20s and 30s, start to influence them and encourage them and expose them to things that they can invest in to have wealth, long-term wealth, so they can in turn give back to our community. And lastly, I want to unite the community culture and change some of the ethical behavior that goes on in our community. So me being a coach, obviously, I like sports, and I've seen the different things that sports can do in the community. So a sports-focused development plan works because sports works with all different aspects of the community. Sports is impactful, very impactful in the community, in all communities around the country. The reason sports-focused development works is because it's social. Sports includes all genders, all races, all ages. It doesn't discriminate. The game does not discriminate. It doesn't matter what game you play. Now, the people who organize the game can discriminate, but the game itself does not discriminate. So sports is social. It involves everyone, like I said before. Sports is economic. There's tons of ways to make money in sports. All different types of sports revenue are generated year after year. It's a huge industry. Sports is sustainable. As long as you have people, you can have athletics. And as long as you have people, you have community as well. Sports is environmentally safe. It doesn't require huge productions. It doesn't require factories, not big pollution. We're not digging into the ground like oil drillers. In sports, all we need is a place to play and the people to play the game. The Easy Development Plan is a sports-focused development plan fueled by 5 different theories that include the mind of a student athlete, how they think and how they operate, diplomacy, sports sociology, economic development, and a progressive education. I'll go deeper into these 5 different theories and how they affect the sports-focused development. We'll start with student athletes. You need the mind of a student athlete. Student athletes are our target focus for one reason. There's 8 million student athletes across the country in high school athletics. There's 495 competing in NCAA schools Division 1, 2, and 3. That's a huge base of males and females who know how to work hard, play for a competition, be determined, and execute. Those are key abilities that we will need to launch a community building development plan. We want to guide them in a direction to build your communities. In progressive education, students must be invested in what they believe in. It's a learn by doing status. We want to educate the whole child and build their physical and emotional well-being. This also leads to spiritual and intellectual growth. This form of education created by John Dewey lets us know how students can learn through the things that they love doing, that they're passionate about daily, day in and day out. Every economic development plan has basics. Here are some of the commonalities. Speed. How fast is this going to get done? Everyone wants to know, how fast can we get from point A to point B? From developing the plan all the way to implementation. Risk. How much risk is it? Cost. What kind of expenses is this going to draw up? What kind of resources is it going to take? As I said before, you need a place to play. You need land. All kinds of things to develop sports programs. So how much is it going to cost? What kind of opportunities is it going to give for the people? Is it going to be a high risk? Look at the environment. What are the environmental factors? How will it hurt the environment? How will it help the environment? And is it sustainable? Like I said before, I have a young son who's 5. Will this be around when he's 35? And now that we've got all the economic basics, now we have to have a structure for our leaders, a standard for our leaders. And that's going to be the diplomacy structure. Diplomacy is the art of dealing with people in sensitive and effective ways to resolve common interests. It doesn't matter what their cultural backgrounds are. They all come together and negotiate with nonviolent means, and they all have different perspectives. These perspectives need to be heard. These perspectives need to be understood. You need to understand what it's like to be a young boy, a young black man in poverty. You need to understand what it's like to be a young white man in poverty. Things like that you have to bring to the table and allow people to speak, allow their voices to be heard. If you're affecting all those different areas of the community, those people need to be heard. Sometimes that's all they need. They don't necessarily need their decision to be at the forefront of the development plan, but they want to be heard. This collaboration among leaders and having a leader from all different areas, the diversity, is the diplomatic structure. After we've built the plan and put it together, then we're going to implement it into society. The way we implement it into society and the key marketing tool is sports sociology. We're going to use the likeness and the power of influence from the coaches, the athletes, the teachers, the community leaders, and we're going to implement our plan, our lifestyle, our cultural materialism to the public. It's nothing new. Sports sociology has been used as a tool for social change before because it connects with the larger audience and it's a cross-cultural marketing. As I said before, sports brings together people who never normally come together before. And it's a way we can influence the youth and empower them to lead others in their community. So co-modification is a key tool on how we're going to implement this into society. In our co-modification structure, we're going to take the athletes and display the new culture to society. All the games are going to be the big platform. It's a huge platform. Some games have anywhere from 50 fans to 100,000. That is a huge platform from week to week, and sometimes day by day, and sometimes multiple times a day. If you have a boys and a girls basketball program and have 20,000 fans at each one, when you put those athletes in front of them and you do post-game interviews and you do media press, that is co-modification. They are the product. When they are speaking to the media or speaking to fans, they are a power of influence. Their likeness from Instagram, from social media, all of those things that combine together, their likeness is being used. And we're going to use it to better the community. Here's an example of how you've seen co-modification before. Take the player and the likeness of the sport, then combine it with religion or the behaviors that you want to be represented in your community. Then we pack it up into a brand. Give it a logo, give it a name, give it a symbol. And we broadcast that symbol on a big stage every time you see a game. This could be football, basketball, baseball, track, whatever your sports are. You broadcast it in every athlete and every sport. And when they have this patch on and they wear this patch, they're a representative of the community and how the community should behave and how culture should look like. All right, now, so we're going to dive into the easy development business model. Here we have the community brand that I spoke of in the middle. And the people that mold that community brand are education leaders, small business leaders, your community leaders, and athletic programs. So we're going to take leadership from all four of these different departments, and we're going to have meetings and conferences, and we're going to discuss the issues, the problems, the life changes, the wealth, the development, all the different things that we can do in our community in a diplomatic structure. This program uses progressive education models to educate these students outside of the classroom. We're not using traditional classroom structure where, okay, we'll put them in here with this teacher, with that teacher. We're using the sports as an educational environment. I know you guys are coaches and sometimes you have different talks with your players. You have guest speakers come in the sports environment, learning with their teammates. Students will be more invested. The student athletes can select different topics that they're interested in. They'll learn through the real world experiences that we can create through the small businesses, through the community development plans, through local law enforcement, all those different things. The learner will become a problem solver. So here's some examples of how we can incorporate education with athletics. Take your basketball team starting five and go to run at local Dairy Queen. Okay, fast food is a great place. There's lots of different positions. I worked in fast food myself. You can put your point guard in the drive-thru. You can put your postman in the kitchen. He'll be flipping burgers. You'll have somebody else stocking the freezer. And they'll be working together on an 8-hour shift, learning, hey, this is how a team works in the real world, in the world of business, how we can create a product and how we can create a service to better our community. Other examples is you can have former athletes come in and make presentations on how they're impacting business right now. Like myself, I was a student athlete. I can go talk to a group of students and we'll talk about experiences on how I worked on the field and how I worked in the business office. A businessman like myself can relate to how the quarterback on the field is also the business owner and how he has to lead the team and build the team and make plays and learn every position and teach them how this whole world works. Now we'll get into our education leadership team. This team will be a network of leaders from local academic institutions. These leaders have come together and designed programming and curriculum and programs that cultivate the skills of a student athlete aspiring to be something different outside of sports. Some of the benefits education programs will receive, or they'll grow in enrollment, and they'll have access to more funding and community resources than ever before. Small businesses will be more likely to invest in these education programs and help them get the tools that they need to be more successful over a long period of time. Athletic programs obviously will have a huge impact on the structure of this development plan. Sports in society, like I said before, has been something that has changed different communities all over the world. A few examples are Dr. Harry Edwards' accomplishments. Dr. Harry Edwards is a professor at the University of California, Berkeley. Dr. Harry Edwards' research has impacted people all over the world, particularly at his school in the University of California, Berkeley, and at the University of Texas has recently opened a program. Some of his known accomplishments include being a personal counselor to Colin Kaepernick. If I take a knee right now during the national anthem, you know exactly what I'm saying. I don't have to say any words. This simple gesture impacted the entire country of the United States, created division, created unity in some ports. And the NBA followed, putting Black Lives Matter on their basketball courts all this past summer after the death of George Floyd. Actions like this weren't just thought of overnight. They were put together in deep thought and deep research and presented properly to be effective changes in the society. Another way sports has influenced society is through female empowerment. Females have been empowered through sports since the 1800s. The feminist movement was also empowered through female sports. This led to the females getting their right to vote in the 1920s. There's also a spark of a feminist movement in the 1950s and 60s. At one point, there's an all-women's baseball league. And then the spark of Title IX in the early 70s changed college athletics and college programs all over the country. Another example is the University of Western Cape in the city of Cape. In 2007, they launched a program called the Kicking for Peace. Kicking for Peace is a grassroots initiative, and they use sports to develop skills and attitudes to help build a just, peaceful society. They encourage peace building, conflict management, democracy, sustainable development, human dignity, and all these great principles that build up their society today. They aim to create conflict-free and sustainable communities where they had lots of violence and violent acts being done in their society. Sports was a way to bring them all together. They implemented a program like you see the one today by coming together, having weekly meetings, and joining as leaders to make a change in their society. See, the power of sports in society allows them to translate the vision into community action. They deep reach in the community and find leaders with the right heart to transform society from the inside out. This is true social transformation. So when designing an athletic leadership team, you're going to include program directors, coaches, current players, former players, and some parents of these student athletes. You want to make sure that everyone is heard and you have the best interests in these student athletes and the best interest of your community. And you put that all together with research and design and create educational programming that allows these student athletes, coaches, and athletic leaders to become leaders in the society, to be the forefront of our program. So what are some benefits that the athletic programs receive? They become positive public figures, outstanding citizens, a model citizen, who you want to be a citizen, not just for the children, but for adults as well. See, when you transform these athletes and coaches in their programs and you see their success on the field, that likeness and that interest makes the parents even say, hey, what's going on in my child's life? And then that parent is inspired to be changed themselves. And now that student athlete becomes a leader in society. There are also ambassadors to the development plan. When we're trying to get new people into the community, new businesses want to invest in the community, you want to send out these coaches and these student athletes and show them first because they're living it, they're breathing it every single day. They're out learning the program, they're out doing the program, they're out in front of the media. They understand the lifestyle transformation that the community has been in, and they're living it. It's actually their culture. They own it. They take ownership, and no one can broadcast that better than student athletes and coaches. Another key to the success of this development plan is having a strong business leadership team. The business leadership team will consist of your local Chamber of Commerce, local business owners, Small Business Development Commission, and an Economic Development Council. Now, there's a local Economic Development Council in every city around you. A lot of these programs already work with colleges and universities, so they're easy to get to. Building a team of these leaders in the community will allow you to see what the needs are of the small businesses in your district. Again, taking the diplomatic structure and using true diplomacy will allow you to hear what the issues and needs are in your community in order to develop properly. So the small business partnership allows them to get tax breaks that they might not have gotten before, opportunities for development, expansion. Funding is also difficult for small businesses. That problem can be solved through this partnership. Your community leaders are going to be the boots on the ground for this. They're going to be the one that changes the hearts and transform your society. Yes, the student athletes and the athletic programs are going to market it and make it look good. But the true work that is being done in these people's hearts and minds is going to be done through our community leaders. This is going to be the hardest part to find. You can't just pick people based on their position or their job title. You got to find people based on the content of their heart and their character. When forming this whole E.A.S.Y development plan, the why is the most important. Not just the last letter in the name, but the why people are getting into this partnership with us. So who are they? They're religious leaders, they're economic development strategists, local government officials, law enforcement, local media outlets, recreational and sports leagues. Now, as you'll see in your community or you're a small district within a community, there are various people in all these different industries that you can pick. So like I said before, picking the right person and finding out what their why is and matching it up with our why in this development plan is key. They must be trusted long-term community leaders with personal stakes in society. Their kids live here. They go to the local schools. Their grandkids live here. They went to the local schools. Do they have some kind of personal attachment to the community? And they want to see it thrive. The community leaders are going to empower people, inspire people, lead them, show the change that they want to be displayed. It needs to be a change in them first. They need to have a testimony. They need to have a story. There's glory in this story. And then we will all share the vision and celebrate together. What are some of the benefits of all this thing coming together? Community benefits will achieve the collective intent of all the developers. That's you. That's your board. That's your team. Whatever your intentions are, that is the definition of success. They can rejuvenate exhausted areas of real estate, generate high tax revenues, lower crime rates, decrease poverty, improve the work, live, play image. This is very important to millennials and anyone you want to attract to come in from the outside. If I want my community to compete versus a larger metro area, I need to be able to sell a high quality of life to someone who's never lived here before. This also is going to be marketable to new business development and create jobs, and it will decrease racial inequalities and the connections to our culture. So what are some key factors of making this plan go and be sustainable over long term? It's how you implement it. This is something that can't be implemented one time. It has to be implemented year after year, month after month, generation after generation. And it has to be constantly changed and reevaluated and reassessed, and the research must continuously be done. But all of this can be handed down through generation after generation. So some of the essential elements for continuous development include culture, culture, culture. It has to become your new culture in your society. It's the way you act, the way you talk, the way you walk, the way you treat each other, the way you treat your neighbor, the way you treat your associates, the kind of people you hire, the kind of people you fire. All of these things apply. All over America, we deal with American individualism. It's got to go. Individualism will not thrive in this program. We have to look after each other. We're going to have to remove some political leaders that value of individualism. Some of these things are going to be tough. Some of these things reside inside of you, and you have to change first. But like I said before, you must become the change that you want to see in your community 30 years down the road. And as I said before, it's going to be hard. The changes will be hard. This is the only hard part of the E.A.S.Y program. Finding the right people and getting them to buy in, and you also buying in as well. With that comes multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is various cultures coming together and using their differences for the greater good of them all. And then we revisit commodification. The key to successful commodification is having strong leadership and strong teams that understand the vision and have transformed in education, athletics, small businesses, and your community leaders. As I said before, commodification is taking our brand that we built as leaders, packaging that together, and selling it as a tangible product or service to the entire community and outsiders as well, to grow the community as a whole. Through commodification, we'll redefine the superstructure, change ideas, change values, change beliefs, and worldviews on how we look as a society. We'll influence the structure of society, change laws, change policies, and we will control the brand narrative that we display to everyone across the globe. So I want to thank you for listening and viewing, and I want to thank the Commission on Sports Management Accreditation for sponsoring this research project and allowing me to present at the conference. I hope you've enjoyed it. And just to give a little background on why the name is Easy Choice. It's your choice. It's an easy choice. It's not just an acronym. It's an easy development plan. It's things that have been done before. It's theories that have been done before. But the work is hard and it's difficult. I learned this when I was putting the whole research project together. All the research was making sense. All the theories were making sense. But when I got out in the field and started to look and talk to people and talk to leaders, education leaders, business owners, city officials, community development, they all said the same thing. Mr. Choice, the work you're doing needs to be done, but there's no one to do it. So you'll need someone passionate and intelligent that can spearhead this project when implementing it. That is a true challenge. And I want to challenge you to change your own community for the greater good. Doesn't matter if you have 50 people in your community or 5 million. Break it down into sections. Find a place that needs that change, and it will be truly easy. And I want to leave you with 2 final quotes from me. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at begin to change. And together, we can establish the community of tomorrow.